Week 4 in the Always Sunny in Sayreville League, and this episode has just been fucking disaster. This camera is just completely fucking with me, man. Injuries this week. Leonard Fournette fucked up that hammy again. It's pretty sweet. He's going to be out for, well, we actually don't know how long he's going to be out for. It's fucking awesome. We do know that Gio Bernard is going to be out 2 to 4 weeks, just in time for Mixon to come back, also just in time for Gio to get traded. We'll get to that in a sec. Lamar Miller, highly questionable for Week 5. Randall Cobb, definitely out for Week 5. His teammate Geronimo Allison, highly questionable for Week 5. T.Y. Hilton did not play in Week 5, obviously on Thursday night. Dalvin Cook, highly questionable for Week 5. And finally, Sammy Watkins, who we're going to touch on in a minute. He is also highly questionable for Week 5. So the injuries are piling up, but, you know, that's kind of what we expected. We just need to go back and talk about Leonard Fournette real quick, because last week I mentioned that there was already one year-end award that was pretty much in the bag, that being the Negligent Owner Award. Well, this week I think it's pretty safe to say that we have another year-end award that's all sewn up, as Leonard Fournette gets set to miss another multi-game absence. It's gonna be really nice. Sweep the Leg, for those of you who don't know, selected Leonard Fournette with the 9th overall pick in this year's draft. One spot ahead of Melvin Gordon III. Not Melvin Gordon the first, not even Melvin Gordon the second, but the actual Melvin Gordon III. On the season, Leonard Fournette has scored a total of 13 points. And on the season, in 4 games, Melvin Gordon III has scored 108.5 points. His lowest individual single game score, 16.4. Again, Leonard Fournette's total season, 13 points. And the winner for the worst draft pick is Sweep the Leg, Leonard Fournette, round 1. And on the subject of Sweep the Leg's recent accomplishments, we must note the fact that they have now faced the highest scoring team in the league for 2 weeks in a row. More on their next powerhouse opponent in just a bit. But first, this week's powerhouse opponent, the Golden Showers, roughed up Sweep the Leg by a score of 193.16 to 140.58. Sweep the Leg, another respectable score, but just ran into another buzzsaw. The 52.58 point margin of victory, you know, not counting the Moths game, would have been the second largest margin of victory for the week. The Golden Showers had a very balanced attack in this game. 9 out of the 10 players scored in double digits, led by Golden Tate's 33.2 and the Green Bay defense's 33 points. 33 points out of the defense. Not bad. The Golden Showers had the highest score of the week by 1.58 points and the highest score of the year so far. And they now have high score of the week 2 times so far this season, the only team to do it twice. And they are the second overall point scorer in the league, ahead of their own division leader, Rutherford B. Hazy. It looks like Danny Mac has successfully made the crossover from sad fantasy baseball owner to happy fantasy football manager, which is bad news for the rest of the league. And for that, the Golden Showers are this week's hero. At this point, it bears mentioning, honorably, that the second highest scoring team this week is our lone remaining undefeated team, Rutherford B. Hazy, just like everybody expected. Rutherford B. Hazy got a really strong attack. 6 out of his 10 players scored over 20 points. GMs around the league don't quite know what to make of this apparent juggernaut, but with each passing week, the public perception must change. From the highest of highs, we move to the lowest of lows, again, not counting the Moth. Bootleg Crableg saw his perfect record get smashed this week by the Drunken Bums by a score of 165.46 to 106.48. The Drunken Bums announced themselves as a force to be reckoned with this 58.98 point beatdown to the previously undefeated Bootleg Crableg. This was the biggest margin of victory of the week. The Bootleg Crableg only had 4 out of 10 players in double digits, and only Zeke scored over a 12. Sammy Watkins, we talked about him before, he left early with injury, he scored a 0, and Russell Wilson had 8.98 points for the Bootleg Crableg. Now, Russell Wilson was recently acquired in a trade for Tom Brady. Johnny was very disappointed in Tom Brady's performance thus far towards the season and made a deal for Russell Wilson. And then Russell Wilson proceeded to drop 8.98 points, where Tom Brady looks like he might be getting it back on track. This was the bootleg crab leg's lowest point total of the season, and each week after his big week 1, he's scored fewer and fewer points. Despite his 3-1 record, he's the 4th lowest scoring team in the league. Now, Johnny has seen this movie before. He knows exactly how it ends. It's still early, but he's looking like a bit of a paper tiger. And for that, the bootleg crab leg is this week's GOAT. Now, before we get to our key matchups, the first third of the season is basically over, so I thought it would be a good time to take a look at the trade market thus far. The first trade we had this season, of course, took place before the season started, before the draft actually, where Beer Muscles traded and moved up to the 5th position, and Sweep the Leg traded and moved back to fuck up his entire season. Rusty Strombone and Team Blumpkin worked out the second trade of the year, first during the season, where Rusty Strombone sent Matt Breida and Kenny Galladay to Team Blumpkin for Mark Ingram. Now, Breida and Galladay have been contributing for Team Blumpkin, and Mark Ingram returns from his suspension in Week 5. Now, the third trade we had this year was the infamous Rutherford B. Hazy Josh Doctson deal, which no one will ever forget. The next deal we had, bitter rivals, Beer Muscles and Bootleg Crab Leg, making a deal, swapping quarterbacks, Tom Brady for Russell Wilson and Marvin Jones. This was Bootleg Crab Leg hate trade number 1. Then Sweep the Leg got involved in the trade market, making a speculative deal with the Golden Showers, sending Lamar Miller and Trey Burton for Le'Veon Bell, who at the time was just sitting out. A couple days later, some reports were made that he would be returning to the team, so that should be pretty interesting to see how that plays out. Sweep the Leg then made a deal with Bootleg Crab Leg, sending Jamison Crowder for Corey Davis. This was Bootleg Crab Leg hate trade number 2. Then Sweep the Leg made yet another trade, this one with the Beer Muscles, sending John Brown and Tyler Boyd for Stephon Diggs in a classic 2-for-1. The final trade so far, Rusty Strombone traded with the Gotham Rogues, sending Gio Bernard and Larry Fitzgerald for Devin Funchess. Now, this looks like good timing on Rusty's part because Gio just went on the DL, but Greg Olsen might be coming off the DL, so that should affect Devin Funchess at some point. Should be interesting to see how that whole thing plays out. But that's what we have on the trade deadline so far, or on the trade market, I should say. The trade deadline is coming up in 36 days or so, right after week 10, so get your wheeling and dealing done. All right, guys, key matchups. We're just going to keep it right here because that camera is just really just making me sad. Our first key matchup to take a look at this week is a number 2's division battle, a budding rivalry, if you will, between 4-0 Rutherford B. Hazy and 1-3 Sweep the Leg. Rutherford B. Hazy looking to keep riding that high, and Sweep the Leg desperate for a win this week to right their ship and keep their playoff hopes alive. The other key matchup to look at is 3-1 Team Blumpkin taking on the 3-1 Drunken Bums. Both of these teams are on 3-game winning streaks. They're averaging less than 5 points per game difference, and it's a big Porter Division clash where the winner gets at least a share of the division lead. So that's it, guys. Week 4 update finally over. Remember to set your lineups. Remember never to draft Leonard Fournette again. No, that's just for me. And I will see you guys next week where it's always sunny.